staticky radio or like?
Oh yeah. I hate teeth on a fork. Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is your favorite song, band, or type of music?
My favorite, I just heard it this week. I had a really missing my mommy day this week. Sorry. My mom died about 4 years ago in February. So I had a really missing my mommy day, and we played Homesick at her funeral. So I heard it again today, and so that's my absolute favorite song.
Yeah. You don't have to cry much.
Yeah, I'm trying to fight back the tears now. These are really tough questions because I don't even music. I don't know. I like to listen to country music, but I don't have a favorite song. Or now, if you want to talk about shotguns, we can go there.
Okay, so tell me about your shotgun.
The only shotgun that everybody should have is a Benelli shotgun. Other than that, you don't have a shotgun. You just have something that looks like a shotgun.
Let's see. So the next question, Mitch, I'm assuming you can answer. It's pretty hard. What is the type of music when it's on the radio you will risk having a wreck to turn it off?
Wow. Anything that isn't country.
How about you, Angela?
I don't like rap music at all.
Rap music? Cool. What's your favorite television show?
Emergency 51. I watch it on Netflix.
Nice.
Yeah, that and 1 Adam 12. Those are my two favorite shows.
I'm stuck at MacGyver right now, so I know Netflix. Yeah, this is good.
Yes, we know Netflix. Okay, mine has changed, but when we were having our first child, okay, true story, okay? That was when Survivor was all the rage, right? Well, I told him that if I didn't have the baby by 6 o'clock on Thursday night, that he better make it stop because I wanted to watch Survivor. So, truly, they tried to induce me. It didn't happen. They stopped. I got to watch Survivor, and I went into labor in the middle of the night. It's all about Survivor.
So, do you have a favorite movie?
I will go, especially when this movie was out and I'd be mad at him. I probably saw it 5 times at least. I've been mad at him since then, but you know. I love watching My Big Fat Greek Wedding because it is so his family. And it makes me realize that, you know, I am not the only one that has to deal with the stuff that comes with that. So, except he didn't get christened in the pool with his little Speedo on. That was the only difference.
Do you have a favorite movie, Mitch?
No. Let's move on to the next question. I'm still laughing inside about that.
Okay, so now we're going to get a little more serious. What are you grateful for today?
Yes, for Amber. There are so many things I'm grateful for. You know, being in the wreck, things really could have went south, and I thought they were going to head south. You know, I was out. I didn't work for a whole year. I didn't know if I was going to be able to use my left arm. So there's just a lot of things I'm grateful for. I've made a lot of progress physically, spiritually, and so yeah, I'm just grateful for those things.
Angela?
I'm a crier, for those of you that don't know me. I could go on and on and on about what I'm grateful for. Just within this last 16 months it's been since the accident. You know, and it's so, I'm a firm believer that, you know, we had a really hard time switching churches. We knew God was calling us to another church, but we fought it for probably 3 years out of comfort reasons. I didn't want to go meet new people. I didn't want to go have to make a new church family. I wanted to be where I was comfortable and everybody knew me and you could walk in the door and not feel like you were by yourself. But God really called us to leave the church we were in, and and I don't believe in church hopping, but I really feel like God's really calling us.
Did you guys see that my dad's actually crying?
Both of us have had this conversation since the accident that God really knew where he was placing us. The day of his accident was one of the scariest days of my life. I got the phone call at, it was 5 to 8 in the morning, and I had 40 people coming to my house that day. And I got a phone call that he was in an accident, and I thought that Jacob was teasing me. And I said, yeah, what do you want, really? And he said, no, Mitch just rolled the van. And so Ashley and Jacob were behind him and saw the whole thing. And those of you that don't know, Ashley is my sister that came to live with me when she was 3, and I raised her. And so she was 8 when Mitch and I got married. And her and her husband were behind him and saw the whole thing. And I drove to Moses Lake, and I got there. And the only thing I had in my head the whole time we're there is, when they called, I said, is he breathing? And they said, no, there's no response at all. And then I heard, before I hung up the phone, I heard him screaming. And I was like, thank you, God, he's breathing. Wow. And so I drove to Moses Lake, and I got there, and 40 minutes later, the doctor came out and said that there's nothing we can do for him. We're airlifting him back to Spokane. So I turned around and drove back to Spokane. I beat MedStar, but I was not speeding. MedStar is slow, okay? So, they airlifted him back here, and when he got here, I think I was back here for about an hour and a half before he ever even showed up. The fog was so bad that they had to put him in a plane and fly him to Phelps Field, and then ambulanced him from Phelps to the hospital. And he ended up breaking his neck and his collarbone, fractured his spine. He had spinal fluid leakage, and he had traumatic brain injury. And so I just remember that day, like kind of walking around in a fog, but I also remember things like there were people in this church that sat with me all day long. I mean, all day. They just sat. People I didn't even, like, I love this lady right here. I didn't even have a relationship with her before Mitch's accident. I knew who she was. But Karen sat up there with me all day. Penny and Denny sat up there with us all day. In and out of the hospital, there were people that came up to the hospital that would just sit with Mitch, just sit with him and play cribbage and hang with him and do things just to occupy his mind. Tom and Daryl came over and put things on our stairwell so that when he was walking up and down the stairs, he wouldn't fall. There's just, I could go on and on and on about this church family, but God placed us here for a reason. And I also am very grateful that God has allowed me to see the other side of people's pain, because I understand more. I think I'm more empathetic, is that the word? Toward, when people are going through things, because I think that we get so caught up in life that we forget that there are people out there hurting, that there are people out there that are going through things. So I'm grateful for that, but I'm also grateful for just God's grace and God's mercy. And even as hard as this was, I never lost hope in the fact that God is who he says he is, and that he was going to sustain us no matter what happened. So I could get up here and do the sermon, but I should probably give the microphone. Let me just keep talking.
This is awesome. That's perfect. I have a really hard question. I'm going to direct it to Mitch, because I think he might have an answer for this one. What's your favorite meal?
Spaghetti and fried chicken.
Together?
Yeah.
Of course. I've never made that.
Maybe we should do that at our next potluck. That could work. What about you, Angela? Do you have a favorite meal?
I really like Americanized Mexican, so don't give me any refried beans and stuff. I just want Americanized Mexican food, okay?
So you're not going to go down
No
to...
guacamole, no refried
I just
beans.
had this flashback of when Todd Ingram made the refried beans down
with
your
the
Mexico trip, but
corn
we used
garlic.
way too much garlic, and those were bad beans.
I'm a texture person.
Okay, Mitch, I know you're an extremely talented guy.
Where's this going?
What is one talent that you wish you had?
I wish I had enough talent to figure out how not to work 15 hours a day. Yeah.
Superpowers.
Superpowers.
Yeah, superpowers.
Good job, Amber. Superpowers. What about you, Angela?
What was the question?
What's the talent you wish you had?
I don't know. I'm a pretty talented girl. Maybe I wish I could do gymnastics. Even as a kid, I was afraid to even do a somersault. I was afraid that when I would do a somersault, that my arms would go up here. So I never tried to do them when I was a kid.
Cool. Okay. What's something about you that would surprise us?
Do you want to go first?
I'm a pretty straightforward book. There's nothing that would surprise anybody about me.
I didn't know your shotgun was a thing.
I
was surprised by that.
I used to be a supermodel.
I believe that.
That's no surprise.
Carol's not surprised.
I used to be a police officer. I don't know.
Tell them why you quit.
This is good to know. So,
Do you want me to tell him what you told me? He told me he quit because people are so stupid he was afraid he was going to shoot somebody.
so when you guys met, he was a police officer?
No. When we met, he was working for Waste Management. Okay, here's something you didn't know about us. We were in a wedding together 6 years before we ever started dating. He walked down the aisle with my sister. We never even met at the wedding. And then we met 6 years later.
And she was jealous.
Yeah. Yeah, so then we have video of him walking down the aisle. It was my best friend's wedding, and I was the maid of honor, and he was a groomsman. So he walked down the aisle with my sister 6 years before we ever met each other.
And you didn't remember that?
We didn't until they showed the video, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I can remember that.
That's awesome.
And I had been on 13 blind dates before I met him in 1 year. People were trying to get me hooked up. I don't know.
That's pretty impressive.
Okay, and then, let me tell you, so when I met him, it took him, okay, what man does this? Gentlemen, pay attention, okay? Okay, so we had a blind date for a Friday night. He calls and cancels the blind date for Friday night because he forgot he had hockey tickets. So, goes to the hockey game. So then we do the blind date Saturday night with our friends, and we have a game night. Then he doesn't call me until Tuesday. Who makes somebody wait that long to find out whether they like him or not, okay?
It worked. It worked. So what do you have to say for yourself, Mitch?
I'm speechless.
I have a feeling that doesn't happen very often.
Now we should have sold tickets to that.
I think Amber's recording it. It'll go on YouTube, so we'll see what happens next. If it'll go viral. Cool. If there was one piece of, I want to use the word advice, but that's not a good word in my head. So, what's something that you would like to share with the rest of the church family to encourage them if there's people that are in hard times, hard situations? So what would be your anchor scripture maybe, or something that helped you through? Maybe it was something that surprised you that you would want to pass on.
There's so many things that I could talk about on that
So go
issue, but
You have 20 minutes.
well, 20 minutes. Denny Dollar.
Danny Dollar?
Denny Dollar. Denny Elder. Sorry, the brain injury.
I noticed you didn't say anything about your mental healing in that list, the physical and the spiritual, but not. I'm just kidding.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. So, got it. No, he spent so much time with me. We spent a lot of time together talking, and he must, finally he said, you just got to quit beating the dead horse. But, there's so many things that were going through my mind. If I had something to say, what's going to happen is going to happen. You're only dealt circumstances, and what becomes of your circumstances, that's your choice. But where you're put may or may not be your own issue. You may not put yourself there. So you just got to keep your nose to the grindstone. It would have been really easy for me to roll over and play dead, and a couple times I wanted to. You're sitting there. I was sitting there. You can't even move. You can't even take a shower. I mean, you couldn't eat your own food. Someone had to cut your food for you, whatever. And so you got to keep your nose to the grindstone. You can't give up hope, and that's probably the hardest thing for people to stay focused on, is giving up hope, because I was so close to just being beat up. I was done. But and then of course, friends. Friends are very important. I really never had much use for friends, other than when hunting season came around, because it's a lot of work packing a deer off the mountain by yourself. But now I see where friends are very important. I see where a church is very important. I used to tell Angela, I would tell her, a church is just like a car. You use it to go to the grocery store, and then you come home and you don't use it anymore. But being involved with this church has really broadened my horizon on that. So you got to be with a bunch of people that you fit in with. You can't give up hope, and you just got to keep your nose to the grindstone. And things are going to be what they're going to be. Anybody? Anything else?
God about covers
I am not a worrier, so it's really good that God, you see that face he made? It's really good that God put us together, because I'm just not a worrier. I'm very confident in the fact that God's going to take care of us, and that me worrying about it's not going to change the outcome of things. So we had several very spirited conversations like that through this last year. I put a couple scriptures up around the house, because I just wrote them on little note cards and had them around just to remind me, not to be anxious about everything, in prayer and petition for your, requests before God, and that God, this was my anchor verse, was, God began a good work in me, and he's going to carry it out to completion, and that part of that work is us together. And there have been times I've wanted to give up. There have been times, even before the accident, I wanted to give up, but God brought us together for a reason, and what a chance we get to glorify him and to honor our children and honor so many other people around us. There are days I don't like him very much. And there's, Amber's laughing. Amber's around that. And there's days he doesn't like me very much. But, God has made us one, and he's going to, and there's going to be times I'm going to need to lean on him. I'm not, he was through the muck of it. I was going through it too. But he was the one that his whole life was turned upside down. And so God placed us together for that reason, for me to support him and to love him where he was at. And, and I think we both learned a lot in the last year about that, about patience with each other, about it being okay to disagree. I think we learned a lot about that in the last year, because we're both kind of hard-headed, and so we both think it's our way or no way, and so we learned a lot about that, and that, God is good, absolutely.
Just one more thing. So in a nutshell, I was off a whole year from work. I worked 4 weeks out of the year, and there's a lot of circumstances involved with that. But my biggest issue has always been financial, and so my biggest issue was always money. So for a whole year, I worked 4 weeks out of last year, and our house was paid for, our car was paid for, we had food, we never had any bill collectors coming from us. And the only way I can explain that is God. I mean, there's no other way. I didn't work, I wasn't earning it. So, moral of the story, hard work doesn't pay.
One incident I can think of. There was 1 month before we got everything settled. He had disability coming from his job, but it takes a while to get that settled. And so I want to say 2 or 3 months into it when we didn't have it settled yet and trying to figure out what was going to happen, I had sat down to pay bills, and I'm like, it was 2 days before our mortgage was due, and I was like, God, we are $250 short of making our mortgage, and I'm just trusting you to take care of it. I didn't even tell him that because he doesn't do that. He doesn't like to know that stuff. So literally that night, someone showed up and handed us $250. And I was like, I hadn't told a soul. And then the next morning, someone showed up and gave us $150. So I was like, God, we get groceries too. So, God comes through. Absolutely.
Wow.
That's awesome. So those are the end of my questions. Does anybody have a question that you would like to ask Mitch and Angela?
How long have you been married?
Ask him. Let's see if he remembers.
July 28th, it'll be July 22nd, will be 15 years, right? 14 years.
Art, you had a question.
What does Bob mean in your life?
Bob?
Bob is Bob Lawrence. I never had much interaction with Bob, and then I'm laying there in the hospital bed, and here comes Bob and Daryl, and huge support. They come up to the hospital. I don't know, they must have been there. They're there a lot, and he played cribbage with me, and I'm sure he had something else to do during the day, but yeah, he was up there. I can't even count how many times he's up there. And his wisdom, I don't know if a lot of you guys ever talked to Bob, but he's a very smart guy, very smart. And he knows he can't tell you how things are going to turn out, but he can tell you how stories in the Bible, or just the common sense and wisdom that he has is extraordinary. So yeah, I'd go to war with that guy any day. He's a great guy.
So when I say you're filling Bob's shoes, how does that make you feel?
Oh, shoot.
Wow.
Oh, one shoe.
Yeah.
One
That's I laugh at when people say that, but it would be impossible to fill his one shoe. 'Cause I don't have a leg to stand on.
So you've been mentored. Do you think this last year, there's been mentoring that's happening?
Yeah, I think so. I've spent a lot of time working with these guys, and hopefully I've helped them.
I'm sure you have. I know you've helped me. Robin.
So you had a traumatic brain injury. What part of your brain and what did that do?
He can't remember.
Yeah, it made me 10 times smarter than I am now. No, I don't know.
Taller?
Yeah, I don't know what the details are.
Do you still have symptoms of it?
Yeah, I know Angela asked him to do things. And I can't remember what she said. I still have trouble with it. I'll go into stages where I forget things or just basic 2 plus 2 and I can't figure it out. It takes me a little while, but
Fish.
fish.
2 plus 2 is fish. You draw 2, it looks like a fish.
Yeah.
Thanks, Amber. That was enlightening. Any other questions? Yes, Don.
I want to know when you're going to start your own TV show.
Maybe that's where I should go with that. I think it'd be.
We'll see what the video does on YouTube, and if it goes viral and he gets recognition. Maybe we'll
I'll be your
have him on the
manager.
national
How's
stage.
that?
Elizabeth,
All right.
How'd you guys get engaged?
yeah, tell us your story.
Can I tell the story? Okay, so this is how it went, okay? Casey needs more coffee. Okay, so this is how it goes, seriously. We had a very short engagement, okay? We were 30 before we got married. And, but we met each other 6 years prior, right? So it's all okay. And we met in January. He calls me, he lived in Chihuahua at the time, okay? He calls me and says, why don't you come up for the day and we'll pick a wedding day? That was how he proposed. In May. So yeah, we got married in July. So he's a very romantic guy. I send myself flowers.
Okay, just a quick story about the flower issue. I'm a garbage man, right?
Oh no. I love this one.
So I go to a flower warehouse here in Spokane, and it was a week before Mother's Day, and they threw away all these roses. Well, there's nothing wrong with them, right? I looked at them, so I bring them home. She says I never buy her flowers, and I bring her home like 5 dozen roses, and she's not happy.
Secondhand rose.
I just
clean them up
first.
first?
Really mad at him.
And then he brings them and throws them on the table and says, here's your flowers. I had to dig through them and clean them, and they went in the garbage because I was really mad at him. I tend to have a fit.
Yeah, presentation is a part of this.
Yeah.
I think we need to there needs to be some more mentoring here. If you any guys want to help Mitch with the presentation part of this.
Yeah, presentation is a big part of it. I'm such a sharp dresser that I'm surprised that I haven't caught on to that. But.
Cool. So, anybody else have any questions, thoughts, insight? Don.
Do we owe them for this?
Yes!
Sure. Yeah, you can.
We'll be taking a love offering.
Cool. Well, thank you guys so much for being willing. Oh, Dick.
Describe the accident for those who might not know.
You do remember the accident?
I remember the aftermath.
So can you describe the accident? Or what you've been told about the accident?
Well, I was headed to I used to have my own carpet cleaning business. I'd clean commercial carpets, big buildings, and I worked at waste management. And so I was quite busy all the time. I'd probably work 60 hours a week. But, I was going to make something out of my life. But
This is why the hard work does not pay is a good lesson.
yeah. So I'd go hard all the time, and I was headed to Wenatchee, and I left Spokane at I think 5 in the morning, 4 in the morning, and I go to Wenatchee and I clean the dam buildings up there. There's 3 dams in Wenatchee, and I had the contract to clean one of them. It would be a 12-hour work
That's
shift.
your favorite cuss word.
Wenatchee?
Damn.
Yeah.
The damn building.
Yeah. Yeah. Good one. And so I'd head up there and I'd do that, and it'd take 3 or 4 of us, 12 hours to do, and it'd be a 12-hour day, and we head back to Spokane. Well, I left Spokane that morning. It was the weekend of Thanksgiving 2 years ago, and I left Spokane in the morning, and everything was fine, and got to Moses Lake, and everything was fine. Got on the other side of Moses Lake. I think it was 13 miles out of Moses Lake, and I hit black ice. I just couldn't control it, and I remember flipping once, and then I don't remember anything after that.
Were you wearing your seatbelt?
Yeah.
It was, so because Ashley and Jacob were behind them, we got firsthand of what happened. And he literally went sideways and he went down the embankment and there was a hill that came right back up. So he hit that and he flipped back to front 5 times with all that carpet cleaning equipment. And the big machines literally came unjostled and they were hitting him in the head. And so that's really what happened. So, and they saw the whole thing. And Ashley, you guys could be praying for Ashley. She still is traumatized by that, will not drive on the freeway. You know, a year and a half later, they live in Cheney now. They did live in Ellensburg at the time, but they're finishing up school in Cheney. And she's very traumatized by the whole, and I think Jacob is too. He couldn't sleep for nights. And so yeah, they're still dealing with some trauma from seeing someone they love so much for that happening to them. So
they didn't know that he was going to make it.
They didn't know he was going to make it either. Yeah.
So, and then I remember, after that, I was sitting in the hospital room, and the doctor was talking to me, and in walks Angela, and I knew it was Angela at the time. She says, "Hi, sweetheart." And I look at the doctor, and I says, "What type of joint is this?" And he goes, "She's with you." He goes, "You're married. You're happily married." So
That was the first time you heard that, right?
Right. And then the next words out of my mouth were, "Where are my dogs?"
Yeah.
Because the week before I had told him, when you die, those dogs are gone before your funeral. The week before. And I was like, okay, I will never say that again.
So he asked me where the dogs were. That's the first thing he asked me.
We need to hear about these dogs. What kind of dogs do you have?
I have labs, black labs.
2?
2.
Male, female?
They're both females.
He breeds them.
I don't do that. I have other dogs breed the dogs, but yeah.
Really? Because, wow.
Wow. Barb.
Kitty.
Tell us a little bit about your hunting experiences.
Okay, you guys got time for this? This is more of a comedy session than a help session. So, I'll give you a story. You guys want an old story or a new story? Because I got a really good one back from 1999, if you want to hear it.
We want the good one.
So Angela decides we're going to go hunting. She's going to go hunting. She borrows all these clothes from a friend of hers at work, and she looked good, and so we decided to go hunting. So we had a Cholito where I always hunt, and there's about 3 feet of snow on the ground. And so we start out hunting, and we're hunting for pheasants and quail and grouse, whatever comes up. And so she walks along with me for about a half hour, and finally there's just too much snow, and she can't take it anymore. I go, "All right, honey, I'll tell you what I'll do." I go, "The next bird I get, we'll call it a day. You sit here, and I'll come back for you." So I'm hunting along. Dog goes on point. Bird comes up. I shoot. She yells, "Did you get it?" And I go, "No." Dog brings the bird back, put it in the bag. So this goes on. This happens again. "Did you get it?" "No." Dog brings the bird back. So finally, I forgot where I left her sitting, and I worked into a position where she could see me. And so now I got like 3 pheasants and 2 quail and a couple grouse, and I'm doing good. Up comes another bird. Then I shoot it. She yells, "Did you get it?" And I go, "No." And as the dog's bringing the bird back to me, she goes, "You liar, blah, 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 blah." So that was the end of my hunting for the day.
I can see why you get mad at him.
Well, I think we're coming to the end. One of the things I wanted to bring back to the surface as we close is Karen's been sharing. It's the ministry of presence. And when you were in the hospital, it wasn't like the people who came to sit with you had anything amazing to say, but the fact that they were willing to come and sit with you was where the blessing comes from. And I know I've talked with people, and they're like, "I can never go visit anybody in the hospital because I don't know what to say." And so I just wanted to bring that back to the table, because it's not what we say that's significant. It's the fact that we're willing just to come and be there. And so that ministry of presence.
Yeah, if I could look back on it, it's just the people being there was a big help, because there's really not a whole lot you're going to say to somebody in a position like mine that's going to do much for them, but just to see somebody else, see somebody's face, to see that somebody's interested, that was a big thing for me, because you got a lot of time to sit in that hospital bed and just wonder. And it's very dangerous. I mean, wow. The thoughts
Even when you're not messed up mentally, that's dangerous.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Cool. Well, thank you guys so much.
Woo!